downtown. There you can see the dark skies and the dark clouds here as well. I just want to note that as we take a look at this, there are several different storms that are very near Chicago, some of which are rotating and some of which are not. The area that we're seeing over Chicago at the moment is kind of the leading edge. This is the leading edge of the storm that's beginning to move in. So you're going to notice things are getting darker as we look at the lake view. We can see some of the rain, it looks like, that's beginning to come down. So we are starting to see conditions begin to change. So you're going to get the rain. You might get a little bit of hail out of this, and then the tornado part of the storm would come after. So the rotating part of the storm is actually still back. Well, it's east of Cicero now. I would call it southeast of Cicero, but still working its way there. So the rain's coming down at Wrigley Field right now. We've got ground stops that are in effect at Midway. That's what you're looking at live here at the moment. In fact, I've been looking at the terminal radar at Midway and O'Hare. They've actually been doing a better job close up, kind of giving us a pinpoint view of where the actual area of rotation is. But now for some reason, the scan's old. So, okay, so O'Hare is down. There you go. That would explain why the scan would be old. So unfortunately, we got to go back to the other one that's a little bit further away, but we are still seeing signs of that rotation. It's getting close to being between, I would say, almost halfway between Cicero and Chicago at the moment. So air travel coming to a halt right now. Your road travel should be coming to a halt immediately. If you know anybody out on the roads, try and get a hold of them and let them know that this very dangerous weather is moving in. This is a considerable threat. We've seen videos of a funnel, and at times we've had a couple of reports of the tornadoes being on the ground. So this is in Chicago, but also areas up towards the north. Algonquin, we had a report of a tornado. We've got one still very near Elgin. It looks like it's southeast of Elgin, by the way, right now, for folks who are there. And Schaumburg, you don't have a lot of time. You need to be getting to your tornado safe place. So looking at all these different shots, Chris and Chris, we can see that very favorable conditions of seeing that shear and seeing the rotation with these storms. So things that are popping are turning, right? If we can get these individual storms developing strong enough, we're seeing them all rotate now.
I want to pull up the radar, and Chris, you chime in too, because I'm looking at this, and there's so many other cells that aren't even in warnings right now that are likely either certainly rotating. I mean, look at this cell over the lake right now, just off the lake shore. Obviously, it's out over the lake moving away from Chicago, but boy, look at the rotation on some of this, and then look at these cells south of the warned area, because the encouraging news, at least for Chicago proper, there has been signs of weakening with some of the rotation as it's approaching the Chicago area, or at least the city of Chicago. So that's at least somewhat encouraging news, but these things are happening so quickly they could easily spin back up as they come into downtown. We saw it in Oswego, and then boom, it touched down just east of there, just west of Cicero and not far from Midway International. But I mean, we got 1, 2, 3, 4 area storms, and then 5, 6. I mean, every single one of these cells, they're rotating, and they could go tornado warn at any minute. And then you've got these tornadoes back here with the main line that's going to come through, and then once that passes, the threat's pretty much done. But a good call by the National Weather Service issuing a watch. Local area, very small area, but such a heavily populated area. And one of the situations where when the tornado warning's issued, I mean, it's from that to the ground simultaneously.
Right. If you tuned in, early this morning and then tuned out, you knew that there was a risk, but that risk went up by about lunchtime today. We started issuing torcons of a 5 as we recognized that conditions were more favorable for these rotating storms. And here we are, worst time of the day too, as we're in the PM rush, and a lot of people are trying to get home, and folks are out and about doing their activities. So make sure everybody knows what's going on. They know of the threat, and don't be fooled with this one tornado warning that rolls on through. We may get additional warnings yet here in the next hour or two. Right now, the trajectory of those storms, though, do look like they may be more on the north side of Chicago.
Oh, wow. JD said rotation is tightening now over the loop in downtown Chicago. So the area of rotation, the tornado may not be on the ground any longer, but it's trying to tighten back up and trying to re-rotate as it approaches the lakeshore. So you need to be in your safe place. Downtown Chicago right now, that is where the heart of this rotation is, and a possibility of either a tornado on the ground or about to be on the ground as it comes through the heart of the downtown area of Chicago. Chris, you were going to say something earlier and I cut you off. I didn't know if there's a lot going on. We're trying to manage a lot.
Right, and we've been watching the environment. It's like you've been talking about. It's just ready to spin here. We've been looking at a lot of different cameras. This is Midway here on the left in Chicago. So this is now a little bit away from the storm that we're looking at on the right, but it is looking up to the north in the direction of the other tornado-warned storms right now. So a few different cameras that we're keeping an eye on here in Chicago. On the right is one of those. And then here, this camera from the sky deck here at the Willis Tower, the former Sears Tower here in downtown Chicago, looking off as the storms depart here. And this, you were talking about that one that was rotating. Look off to the left there. Look how low, right below gust at 20. Look how low those clouds are. I wonder if we could just, if it was possible to just look over just a little bit more to the left. I wonder what we would see, because it certainly does look like, at the very least, there's heavy rain. There could be possible rotation right there.
I think so. I mean, this is the loop. I mean, if there's rotation happening, it's happening. I mean, you're going to get kind of a bird's eye view from this tower camera right now, and things are changing so quickly. You can almost watch it.
It almost looks like a multi-vortex.
Yeah.
Do you see that there, Jay?
I see rotation on the right is what I
see. Yeah.
You know what? Actually, it's a little bit above. So it's not multi-vortex, but it has a lot of different, almost like columns in the clouds, right? So now that I look at it, there's a little bit of a shadow, but really that's low hanging because you see the cloud base there as you look straight out. Then you go to the left, and then all of a sudden, just there's that drop off.
Oh.
You see that?
Yeah, but I was also looking at the radar. We just put it up. Dalton, can we, JD, can we zoom in hyper local there? You see how that notch is right there?
I think that's that on the left.
Right here. Yep, that's that low area right there.
That's the area of rotation right in there. Yeah.
Yeah, look at that. I mean, that's right near Navy Pier.
That little yellow on the top of the screen off to the right there. Yeah, right over Navy Pier.
Yeah, right there. That's
close
the area. That's not to say there's a tornado on the ground, but it's in the developing stages of tightening back up again and strengthening.
And it looks like as it's going out over water is what it appears to be on the left. Look at that.
Wow, look at. Do you guys see? Do you see this and this? I don't know if that's just like scud from a cloud.
But that's what I was talking about earlier.
Yeah, I see it more pronounced now. It's hard. I think that's high up. It just kind of looks like it's in the water.
At first, I thought it was on the water at first, but no, from this vantage point, I think it is a little bit higher up. There's a little bit of a shadow there, but it's just an obvious lowering of the clouds there on the left.
And then look. And they just dropped the warning because it looks like now it's pulling out over the lake.
All right, good. Because I want to mention, by the way, and go back up to that other tornado warning we were talking about near Elgin. That one I mentioned that we were seeing rotation south and east of South Elgin, and storm spotters did confirm some rotation and a tornado and some damage to a couple of homes as well as some tree damage. We don't know how serious that is, but now that area of rotation is right over what we call Streamwood, and it's very near Schaumburg. If you live in Schaumburg, this is a very populated suburb of Chicago. You need to be getting to your safe place right now, Schaumburg. There's a likely tornado just off to your west, right there where you see the red and the green that are coming together, and that's moving more in an easterly direction. You're more likely to see impacts on the south side of Schaumburg, but oftentimes we can get, these little deviancies basically from the direction of the tornado and where it's moving. So all of Schaumburg needs to be getting to their tornado safe place right now. This is just south of Interstate 90. This is going to be crossing 290 with time. So yeah, let's go ahead and do a timer out on that one, JD, if we can, and give folks a better idea of when it might be arriving. So Schaumburg, I would not wait. I would be getting to my tornado safe place right now. Less than 5 minutes for you. Elk Grove, it would be arriving around 7 7:02. Des Plaines around 7:07. If it holds together beyond that, we don't have, warnings out there just yet, but that's the area that the rotation would be heading towards. Niles at 7:14. So these are not super fast moving storms, so they're going to take their time moving where they're moving, but unfortunately that also means that they've got a little more time over the areas that they're causing destruction on, if indeed that is happening. So we don't know if there's a tornado on the ground right now, but we do know that one likely touched down very near South Elgin and did cause a little bit of damage, and now it's just to the west of Schaumburg and about halfway between Streamwood and Schaumburg. If you live in Hoffman Estates, if you live in Roselle, get to your tornado safe place.